Hey everyone, welcome back to Secure Your Benefits. If you've been following this channel, you already know we talk all about how to protect your social security, retirement planning, and how global economic changes might affect your benefits here in the US. But today, we're going to take a slightly different angle, something that may seem a little outside our usual topics but is actually very connected once you look a bit deeper. I'm talking about the current rising tensions between India and Pakistan. Now, you might be asking, what does a geopolitical situation on the other side of the world have to do with your social security, your retirement, and your financial future here in the United States? Well, more than you might think. Let's talk about it. First, let's look at what's happening. In the last few weeks, reports coming out of South Asia have shown a sharp uptick in border skirmishes, political posturing, and even military movement along the line of control that's the disputed border between India and Pakistan in the Kashmir region. While we've seen this kind of tension before between these two nuclear-armed nations, this time it's happening in a global economic environment that's already strained. Inflation, oil prices, interest rates, all of these things are already running hot. Now, anytime two nations, especially ones with nuclear capabilities, start showing signs of conflict, the world pays attention. But more importantly, the markets pay attention. Investors get nervous. Commodities like oil and gold tend to spike. The US dollar can become stronger or weaker, depending on how safe investors feel. And that ripple effect? It reaches all the way back to you, especially if you rely on fixed income, like Social Security. Let's break this down in practical terms. When geopolitical tensions rise, one of the first things that tends to happen is volatility in the global stock markets. Investors move their money out of risky assets and into safe havens, traditionally things like US Treasury bonds, gold, or even the US dollar. At first glance, that sounds like a good thing. Money is coming into the US. But it's not always that simple. If the US dollar gains too much strength too quickly, it can hurt exports. That affects the earnings of American companies and eventually impacts job markets and growth projections. Meanwhile, global oil prices often spike in these kinds of conflicts, especially if they see a risk of broader regional instability. A conflict in South Asia might not directly affect oil production, but nervous investors react anyway, and those reactions push up prices at the pump. Now think about how that hits someone on a fixed income. Higher gas prices. Higher grocery bills. Rising costs for healthcare. And yes, inflation ticking up. Now here's where it directly connects to Social Security. As you probably know, every year Social Security benefits are adjusted based on inflation. That's called the COLA, or cost of living adjustment. So in theory, if inflation goes up, your Social Security check goes up too, right? Well, yes, but also no. In reality, there's a time lag. The COLA for Social Security is calculated based on inflation numbers from the third quarter of the previous year. That means if inflation spikes in March or April due to global conflict, you may not see an actual increase in your benefits until the following January, and even then, it might not fully reflect the true rise in costs you've been living with for months. So while you wait for the government to catch up with COLA adjustments, you're left trying to stretch the same amount of money across rising expenses. That's the real-world impact of geopolitical instability on someone who relies on Social Security benefits. It's not just headlines, it's your everyday reality. There's another angle to this that people often miss: Federal Reserve policy. When global conflicts arise, the Federal Reserve sometimes changes course. If the Fed thinks the economy might be destabilized by international conflict, it might pause interest rate hikes or even cut rates to encourage spending and support the markets. But if oil prices are spiking and inflation is rising, they might feel pressure to raise rates instead. Both outcomes have consequences for retirees. Higher interest rates can hurt the bond market and reduce the value of retirement portfolios that are tied to fixed income assets. Lower interest rates, on the other hand, might help the markets but reduce returns for people who are relying on safe investments. Either way, your retirement planning gets affected. Now some people will say, okay, but this is all speculation. Maybe the India-Pakistan situation calms down. Maybe nothing happens. And that's true, we're not here to predict war or peace. But what we are here to do is help you stay prepared, stay informed, and understand how these seemingly distant events can and often do ripple back into your life in ways that matter. Just take a moment to think back to other global conflicts in recent years: Ukraine and Russia, Middle East tensions, even North Korea missile tests. Each time, we saw global markets react. Sometimes it was temporary. Sometimes it caused lasting volatility. But each time, retirees and those planning for retirement felt some degree of financial uncertainty. And that's what we want to protect against. That's the mission of this channel: not just to talk about Social Security in a vacuum, but to help you understand how to secure your benefits in the context of a changing world. Because the truth is, Social Security doesn't exist in a bubble. It's affected by policy decisions, inflation, the strength of the dollar, market performance, and yes, international events that make investors nervous. So what can you do? First, don't panic. Conflicts like this often rise and fall in cycles. Just because there's tension doesn't mean there will be war, and even if there is, it doesn't always lead to immediate economic collapse. But it's important to be aware. Keep an eye on the news, not just local, but international. Second, review your financial setup. If you're already retired, how diversified is your income? Are you relying only on Social Security, or do you have other sources like a pension, 401k, or savings? If you're not retired yet, how flexible is your retirement timeline? Can you adjust if inflation rises faster than expected? Third, consider talking to a financial advisor, especially one who understands how global events can affect retirement planning. This is not just about having a portfolio, it's about having a plan. And finally, stay connected to resources like this one. Our goal is to bring you timely, relevant information that helps you navigate uncertainty. Whether it's a change in Social Security rules, new retirement strategies, or global trends that could affect your bottom line, we're here to break it all down in a way that makes sense. Before I wrap up, I want to be very clear: we're not here to take sides in any international dispute. This isn't about politics. It's about preparedness. It's about understanding how interconnected the world really is. A conflict between two nations across the globe can absolutely impact your Social Security check here in America. It may not happen overnight, but the signs are always worth watching. So whether you're nearing retirement, already drawing benefits, or just starting to think about your financial future, stay alert, stay informed, and remember, securing your benefits means being ready for anything. If you found this video helpful, or if you'd like more content like this where we connect global events to your financial reality, let me know in the comments below. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with someone you care about. These are the conversations that more people need to be having. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay safe, stay smart, and secure your benefits.